not an unusual setting. Well, it's because I'm having my old bedroom cleared out to make room for my new bedroom. I was actually in it. I just had to take part in it. Let's see what the movie is like. Buddy. Like it was never moved. Oh, hey everybody, I'm Dalek44. I didn't hear you come in. I've got myself a new bedroom and just been rearranging some of my stuff to make it feel like home. Changes. We all have to adapt to them at some point in our lives, haven't we? Whether it be a new school, a new job, or a new house, or a new whatever, change is a huge part of everybody's lives. And some accept the changes, and others not so much. But one of the biggest changes that a lot of us go through is changes to famous movies and franchises we've come to know and love. Yeah, TV and movie franchises aren't far from change either. One way or another, TV and movie franchises have changed in different ways. Whether it be a reboot, reimaginings, remakes, or just a new look for the same thing. One of the most notable changes everyone's had to go through was changes to actors in Doctor Who. Mostly actors playing the Doctor himself. With various actors playing the lead title, including William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, John Pertwee, Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith, the late John Hurt, Peter Capaldi, and most recently Jodie Whittaker. But it made sense to do it back in the 60s because it was becoming really hard to work with William Hartnell back in the 60s, because of his aging and other reasons that they mentioned in the Adventures of Time and Space special. And that change of the character has gone throughout the entire series, with each new actor giving a different take on the character but still being the same man, making them funny, energetic, serious, and just whatever they wanted it to be. The Daleks especially have gone through several changes in design since the 1960s, going from something that looked really dated to something that could really do some damage and take over the universe. Even the Cybermen have gone through huge changes since they were introduced in William Hartnell's final story in the 60s. Going from men wrapped in tinfoil wearing cloth on their faces, to men wearing tinfoil and masks on their faces, to things that actually looked like machines that could do some damage. And I know many of the other Doctor Who villains have had changes and updates over the years, but the Cybermen and the Daleks have had the most upgrades. Famous British comedy Blackadder has had a change in each series, starting off in medieval England, to Elizabethan times, to Georgian times, to a Charles Dickens story, to World War I. All of which had the same characters, but within a different time zone. And it made sense to do this, since it was in different time zones, and each one were ancestors and descendants of each other. Only Fools and Horses went through a change after the actor who played Grandad Trotter passed away. After the actor who played Grandad passed away, they ended up getting a new actor to play the boy's Uncle Albert, a man who had sunk every single aircraft-carrying battleship he'd ever sailed on. While he was a different character, he still had it for a lot of laughs with his war stories and madness and so on and so forth. And it was definitely a welcome change. And it wasn't just shows like Doctor Who that had to go through some major changes that we all had to get used to. Lots of famous cartoons had to go through some changes throughout the years too. Children's TV shows like Thomas the Tank Engine have had a huge change of production since it was first made in 1984. What started off as a really creative TV show using models went to a TV show that uses CGI, and while I admit it is cheaper than having to raise the money to make the models every year, it just doesn't have the same charm as the new model series did. But as time goes by, the show gets better and better than it did in the Sharon Miller era.
Of course!
so changes in writing and characters are definitely being made to the show for the better. Even video games have had the changed treatment, like Sonic the Hedgehog for example, having new video games added to the collection of the franchise, with some updates in the designs, the backgrounds and even the voices. You've even gotten some TV shows made about him, each one different from the last. And Goofy has had a few changes over the years that not that many people are aware of. He started off as a goofy guy who just falls down and gets out a chuckle and it's just fun kiddie antics. But there was a time back in the 40s where he used to be a serious adult type of person, going through things that everyday adults would go through, like road rage, smoking and so on and so forth. And he was far from an idiot back then. But after those shorts ended, they went back to his child-friendly and marketable personality. It was definitely a weird change, but some of the badass Goofy cartoons are definitely worth checking out. Famous books The Mr. Men have gone through a few changes over the years, with new characters, new stories, and a few TV shows based on them. One huge change was when the Americans took over and made the Mr. Men show, giving the characters new designs and new voices. Some looking similar to their original designs, and others being a huge departure from the books. Famous Batman villain the Joker has even gone through various changes too, having different actors portray him, including Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Mark Hamill, and most recently Jared Leto. And one of the hugest changes to the character is usually his appearances. And in The Dark Knight, when Heath Ledger played the Joker, you have no idea what his backstory is. They leave out the whole falling in a vat of acid and having his skin bleached white thing, which adds to a lot of mystery to the character, which makes him one of the most popular versions of the Clown Prince of Crime. Even in the animated series from the 90s, he's had a few redesigns and changes to his appearance, despite being voiced by Mark Hamill. In the first 3 seasons, he was a bright, loud, colourful clown with the red lips and black eyes that you know him for. Then in the 4th season, they sucked out all the colour from his face and gave him black expressionless eyes for some reason that made him look like a cartoon character from the 1920s. But Warner Brothers eventually learned their lesson and went back to a design that was more like the original when they did the spin-off movie Return of the Joker. That was definitely a welcomed return. One cartoon character that has gone through the most changes over the years is Daffy Duck. Starting off as a crazy, jumping up and down, wild kind of character, to a jealous jerk who wants to take the fame and glory from other characters, to kind of a mixture of the two versions of Daffy, back to the crazy self in the most recent Looney Tunes show. While many cartoon characters like Daffy Duck and Mickey Mouse and so on and so forth had to go through change due to the ever-changing world, they're not all against those changes as long as they stay true to the characters they've always been. There's even been various changes in voice actors for certain characters. One of the most notable ones is the man of 1,000 voices himself, Mel Blanc, who used to voice the Looney Tunes. But after he passed away in the late 80s, many other actors have been trying out their voices for the Looney Tunes. While they weren't exactly as great as Mel Blanc was at capturing the voices of the characters, they're still pretty decent and worth a watch. Especially when it comes to movies and existing TV shows. The one huge change we had to go through for it was whenever they did a reboot or remake of a certain thing. Scooby-Doo has had, I don't know how many shows now, but each one is quite different from the last, apart from the storyline, which is a man in a mask. While new Scooby-Doo shows like Mystery Incorporated were really great with a great storyline and dark story, others like Be Cool Scooby-Doo were, well, complete shit. But that just shows you how the Scooby-Doo franchise has varied over the years, with some good shows and some bad shows. 2 of the most recent reboots were the Powerpuff Girls. The original show was one of the greatest shows that Cartoon Network had to offer, while the reboot was, well, pretty bad. The girls had huge changes in their personalities, and the only one who I'm assuming stays the same is Mojo Jojo, an evil genius with a bit of a wacky side to him. But besides from that, the reboot is pretty crap. The DuckTales reboot, on the other hand, is fantastic. The original show from the 1980s was a cult classic and one of Disney's best, but the reboot really shows that the people who worked on it love the original and want to show all that love, time and effort into the show. And surprisingly, the show was renewed for a 2nd season before the 1st season even aired. That just shows you how dedicated Disney and the people working on the reboot is to this reboot. While Scooby-Doo's gone through various reboots in its time, DuckTales is one of the few reboots I've seen that actually stays true to the original characters, and it shows that the people who worked on it love the original work. And that's how a good reboot should be done. Power Rangers has been going on for many years, since 1993, coming up to its 25th season this year. While the story of the show remains the same, with like 6 teenagers fighting the evil aliens who use one monster at a time instead of making an army of them, it's had its way of continuing by changing the new characters and writing some new stories that fits in with the stock footage from Japan. It's even gotten a few big screen movies, with the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie and the most recent Power Rangers reboot movie. So changes to shows and movies can be a bit of a mixed bag with some people, but I think we can all identify the differences between good changes and bad changes. The good changes are usually in those shows and movies, where it's made by people who actually respect the original work and want to show that respect and love into their product, while the bad changes come from those people who have no respect for the original work and most likely have never seen the original work and just want to make money out of it because they've heard how it was so popular back in the day.
We've got to have money.
And while some people are accepting of these changes and just accept the fact that this was made for a new generation, other people who were huge fans of the shows back then just go apeshit about it and talk about it on the internet, saying how it ruined their childhoods. And I'm one of those people who's willing to accept and give change a chance as long as it's done by people who respect the original works and their creators. Whether you like change or not, they're all going to happen to a well-known franchise we've all come to know and love over the years. But if the change is done for the benefit of the viewing audience, and it's done by people who love the original work, then I see no problem with it. Change could come in many forms when it comes to movies and TV shows, including writing, voice acting, directions, and just everything else that comes with it. But whatever the changes are, we all have to make our own decisions, whether it's as good as the original, somewhere in the middle, or complete shit. But like I said, that really depends on how we feel about these changes and how much they respect the original product. And I've got a feeling that these changes to movies and TV franchises won't go away anytime soon. But if we're willing to give them a chance and come to our own decisions whether they're good or bad changes, then I'm sure that more changes for the good will come up in the future. I'm Dalek44, and I'll see you next time, folks. Oh, I love this new room.